This is the Sports Business Classroom audio experience with Marni Colbert. Today's guest is Marni Colbert. Now, Marni has worked in professional sports for over 20 years. A few of the athletes that she has worked with or is currently working with include Marcus Camby, Ty Lawson, Kenneth Faried, Al Wilson, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Carmelo Anthony, and also Von Miller. Marni also serves as the Director of Team Operations for the NBA Summer League in Las Vegas, a venture that began almost 20 years ago and has seen substantial growth year to year. Marni's passion and expertise is in helping rookies and young players accelerate their careers by helping them get organized and ready to perform at the highest levels. She uses her proven systems to make an immediate and an ongoing impact on her clients' lives, both personally and professionally. To quote Marni, "I love watching sports as much as I love working in the industry. I have seen everything that there is to see in the industry. I've even been featured in ESPN. But my favorite memories are the times when I would go to the Lakers game with my dad." I was personally interested in talking with Marni because of her history with the NBA Summer League as a founding member and her love for sports and making others better. Welcome to the Sports Business Classroom audio experience. My name is Arthur McKibben, and I am an alum of the Sports Business Classroom Immersive program in 2022, where I took part in the scouting, video, and analytics major. For the next several weeks, I will be hosting an Alumni Takeover series where I highlight some of the people that I look up to in our profession. The path to success in sports, business, and life is not an easy one. There are many challenges and obstacles that must be conquered in order for you to achieve your goals. Personal growth and leadership development are two essential components that can help you to overcome these challenges and reach your desired destination. In this series, we will focus on the importance of personal growth and professional leadership development and how it can impact someone in their pursuit of a career in sports, business, and life. I'm super excited to be reunited with the SBC team again, and I can't wait to share with you all the amazing content that we have prepared. So without any further ado, I give you Marni Colbert. I'm personally very excited, Marni, to have this interview with you. And, we did get a chance to speak a month ago or so, and I really appreciated your time then. And I certainly appreciate your time here with us today. And you are a pioneer in the Summer League, and we'll talk about that a little bit and ask some questions about the beginning, early days, but it's just, so thank you. Thank you for this time and hanging through all of our little technical challenges and glitches and figuring out how we can make this thing happen. Because that's really the bottom line. How do we make it happen when you have to, right?
Exactly. Well, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Marni, you have worked in professional sports for over 20 years. How did that path open up for you? And how did you discover your passion to serve as a personal assistant to athletes?
It started as a way to get close to my dad. We had Laker season seats when I was growing up, and my dad loved going. And so I learned that if I went with him and spent that time with him, we had that connection. And it really kind of started my love for sports and basketball. And I consider myself a Forum baby, because Lakers played at the Forum back then.
Yeah.
And, that's how I learned, he taught me how to add and all that stuff, the 2 points plus a free throw is 3, so I really learned and really bonded with my dad over being at Laker games. And my love for sports just kind of fell in naturally from there. And it was a huge bond between me and my father. And it just kind of carried on through my life. And as far as being a personal assistant, they say you're the sum of two wholes a lot of times. And my mother was very detail oriented, and she did a lot of similar stuff, not for athletes. And I kind of took both and kind of the compilation of both of them, with her detailedness and my dad's personality and love for sports. And here I am.
Yeah. That's awesome. Growing up, I was a big Laker fan myself, and my grandfather used to have season seats at the Forum. And so I remember going to some of the games there with him. And so, yeah, the Forum, those were some good days. Those were some good legacy. And
yes, it was a family back then. It was, everybody knew everybody if you were at all the games, and, you knew the people sitting next to you. You knew when they were having kids, if something was going on, it was truly a family.
yeah. And I'm sure that in some way has carried over in your love for basketball and working within the summer league and just seeing that take root and take place and live out again, the family of Hall Pass Media and VSL Sports and
yes. I mean, there's no family like this VSL family. A lot of us have been together for the whole time, Carla Henderson, Albert, me, Warren, Carol came. I mean, there's so many of us that have been around for so long. We've watched people get married and have kids and, to still talk to everybody and still have all those relationships with people who, aren't even with us. They've gone and gotten jobs with teams and, you still talk to them and still, are kind of involved in their lives. And it's so amazing.
Yeah. Well, I went to our first NBA Summer League game, 2016. Took my eldest daughter with me to just have some 3 days with her. It was just her and I. My wife stayed back at the hotel at the pool, and I had my big camera, and I'm taking pictures of people. I even lanyards just to find out who people were, and read the story of Warren Legary and Albert Hall, and just amazed. And then, we've gone back ever since, except for the COVID time when nobody got to go back.
Right.
And the thing that, inspired me the most and what I saw from a fan perspective was watching Warren and Albert and Sergio just serve the people, serve the fans. To be picking up trash along the courts, when you have a lot of influence and a lot of power personally, but taking care of the fan base and being real and authentic. And I really have seen that as a fan looking into the Summer League, and that's not something you can teach. That's kind of a culture that just grows from within. And
absolutely. Warren starts it all. And people say, he leads the league in picking up trash. And, the best thing about Warren and one of those authentic things is he backs up what he says.
Right.
He says he wants everyone to do it and he'll do it himself. So it's leading by example that's, really created the family. It's, Warren and Albert are so great with people.
Right.
And, making everyone feel special and a part of stuff. And they've done that with everybody, top to bottom in the Summer League family.
Yeah. And that's evident. And, I've watched that, and it's what's kind of drawn me. I'm an alumni. We're here for the SBC Sports Business Audio Experience and our SBC alumni. I did the alumni track or major last year at 2022 and did the scouting and video and analytics. And, just again, wanting to be a part, wanting to be alumni of a great organization and a great opportunity. Marni, you serve as the director of the team operations for the NBA Summer League in Vegas.
Yes.
Can you speak to our audience of SBC alumni students and prospective students about what does that entail for you?
So what it entails now versus what it entailed when we started the league is significantly different.
Sure.
When we started the league, I used to do the schedule and I did it by hand. I mean, we started with 6 teams, so it wasn't so difficult. And then I probably did the schedule for 6 or 7 years. And I loved it. I loved the challenge of it, the putting pieces together, making sure teams didn't play at 7:00 one night and then 1:00 the next day, just the analytical side of putting that together. And I used to also handle credentials. But what I currently am is I'm basically the team liaison, and anything that the NBA teams need, they come through me. I handle all the courts. So I do schedule court time, schedule practices, shoot arounds. But just basically as a liaison. So no matter what the teams need, they have one person that they can go to. And I can say, okay, this is who you need to speak to, or I can handle it. And, it makes it a lot easier for them because this isn't an NBA city.
Right.
So, in an NBA city, the PR person would talk to the other PR person, and, the equipment manager would talk to the other equipment manager. And since it's not an NBA city and we have our own VSL family, VSL staff, it usually flows through me, and then I'll kind of disseminate and say, okay, we need to take care of this or take care of that.
Yeah. With that comes a lot of responsibility, a lot of thinking on your feet, a lot of attention to details. And so somebody looking into the SBC program for some of our students, what would be some skill sets that you would recommend for them to make sure they have kind of in their toolbox, or recognize what lanes within the sports industry or within Summer League would be a good fit for them as they try to find a career path for themselves?
I'll say the first thing is common sense. Just realizing that there's a problem and there is a solution, and not panicking, and just taking a second to really think about what the problem is, what the potential solution could be. And again, as you just said, kind of staying in your lane and knowing if that is your role to solve it or your role to bring it to someone higher, saying, hey, we have this, and this is what I think we should do about it.
Okay.
But, what do you think?
Right.
And I'll say that one of the things that I've really learned as we've gone on is kind of how to delegate more and kind of let go, to let those people who are trying to get involved really learn their way, and know that my way isn't always the best way. But I have a method to my madness. And so let's hear yours. So it's kind of more so them, if there is a problem, coming up with a solution, not just coming to somebody with a problem.
Right. Well, and that speaks of leadership. My mentor, John Maxwell, he teaches, everything rises and falls on leadership, and leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And so as you take on that leadership role of saying, hey, how do we get this done? Just even today, we saw an example of taking control of a situation that wasn't working the way it was. It just wasn't working. So what's our plan B? How do we make this work without frustration, without, just figuring it out and saying, okay, let's try this.
Yep.
And here we are. We're having our interview like we wanted. And the SBC students will be better because of it. So
thank you. Yes. But it's taken years to really understand a lot of the Summer League, a lot of the roles, the positions have changed. And it's a learning experience.
Yeah,
it's definitely a learning experience, and it's amazing. I started as an intern when I first started in the business, and it's back in those days, though, you had actual landlines. So no one ever wanted to answer the phone, but I always wanted to answer the phone, because if you answered the phone, you always knew what was going on.
Oh,
Because,
good.
this person keeps calling, like, okay, there's got to be something going on there. So you kind of start digging more into it. Now everyone just calls everyone's cell phones. But I mean, I think the equivalent to that is, as we call it, elevator duty.
Okay.
And there's 2 elevators, and you need credentials to get up or down them at Summer League. And you have basically 30 seconds. That's your elevator pitch right there. You have 30 seconds with all these people to create a name for yourself, to make yourself seen and known, and have people want to know more about you.
Right.
So, I mean, there's so many opportunities. And it's my favorite thing.
Yeah. So a message to SBC students coming into Summer League, going through the program, don't be afraid to introduce yourself to people.
Yep.
And be respectful of their time, be respectful of what they're there for, because as Sergio has told us before, everybody is there for a business, and the league's going on, and even the kind of the takeover of the NBA as far as organizationally and operationally, there's a lot going on there, and your role to facilitate this requires a lot of recognition of helping them do that and keeping things moving smoothly, and so there's a role there. Before we go on to some other questions, thinking back, because you have been at Summer League since the beginning. In fact, you were a recruiting founding member, from what I understand. And tell us how that opportunity came about for you, and what you thought it could become back then into what it is today.
So way back in 1989, 1990, no, maybe 99, 2000. Sorry, I'm off on my years, my decades. 99, 2000, I actually ran the Long Beach Summer League.
Okay. Is that before it went to Loyola Marymount?
No, it was Loyola Marymount was kind of one of the first ones. And then it went to Inglewood High, went down to Irvine, and then came up to Long Beach.
Okay.
So it was kind of all over. But Loyola was the most famous. It was the best. But it was just pure basketball. And I loved it, because there was no sponsorship. There was none of the other, other stuff. It was just basketball. And I remember Warren always had a team in Summer League. So he had his Terraza team in there, and they were one of the top teams every year. He had the best guys. And he said to me, I'm going to start a Summer League in Vegas, and I'm going to hire you to come run it. And I said, okay, Warren, whatever you say. And lo and behold, Warren calls me and says, we got it, let's go. And we went, and he brought in Albert and myself. And I mean, I will say Warren set this up for everyone to succeed. He put us in the best positions for everyone, personally and collectively, to succeed. Right. My strength was always the teams and working with the teams and kind of the on the court stuff.
Right.
And that's my lane. And it's great. I mean, Albert's the marketing. I don't stray into his area. We're all put in positions to succeed, and we just all kind of ran with it. And it's amazing.
Yeah.
And
how aware were you at that time of your own personal strength, your lane, and knowing that this would be a good fit for you, and then the decision to do it? Was there risk involved for you that you had to kind of contemplate, or were you just on board as soon as the call came through? I was on board as soon as the call came through. Nice.
Warren's that kind of person. When Warren says he's going to do something, he's going to do it.
Yeah.
And he went about it the right way. The guys that I used to work with in Long Beach, they were penny pinchers. And Warren was willing to spend the money. If I said, hey, I think we need to do this, we need to spend the money to do this, he said, if you feel strongly enough about it, let's do it.
Okay.
And we did it. And I mean, we're all 30 teams now.
Yeah.
And I don't know that I envisioned it all 30 teams, because when we first started, there was Boston, there was Orlando, there was Utah. And so, I mean, now the vision was there, but the reality of it's so much better.
Yeah, that dream. Well, you went from 8,000 attendings the first year, 2004, to double that, 16,000 a year later, and now we're doing that 20,000 plus, I think, every day of the 10 days, or pretty roughly, pretty close to that. So there's the draw and the pull, the influence that NBA Summer League has brought to Las Vegas is just astounding, And so when you see that dream from the beginning, because what I want our SBC students to understand, our alumni and those looking to get into the NBA, the power of that dream, of what it looks like. And you have a perspective that is unique because you saw it from the beginning to now what it is today. And there's a lot of personal pride, and you've helped do that with a team of people that couldn't have done it without everybody else as well. And you're quick to acknowledge that. But just that part of holding on to your dream. And what would you say to our SBC students in regards to that?
I mean, sometimes you don't even know that it is your dream. It's you kind of start somewhere, and sometimes if you just open up and just let it go, just take what's coming towards you and embracing it and saying, okay, like, I have this opportunity to intern here, right, and just making the most of it. I mean, who will get you in the door. What will keep you there. And to just be able to use what I've learned over all these years, working for an agent, working for a team, working for players individually, working as a whole with the Summer League. It's just, I'd say stick with it. Stick with it. Open your eyes, open your heart, and just be open to what comes to you, because it may not be what you think it is.
Right.
But it may be something that much better.
Yeah. And, just being, just allowing yourselves to just say yes, live on the other side of yes. And you don't know where that might have taken you. Have you ever just sat and thought about, wow, what if I would have said no to Warren on that day? What, all of this that I didn't experience.
I'd never had that thought. I had complete faith in him. And the fact that he had the faith in me to do that, that's what I sit back and think about, is the fact that, Warren, Albert, everybody has had their faith in me to allow me to do this and allow me to succeed and allow me to try and help people and, learn from them as much as they can learn from me.
Yeah. Yeah. Knowing what you're good at, knowing that you can do it and you have done it. At the time, did that surprise you? They had that kind of faith in you, or did you recognize it as a gift? Or
I mean, yes, I know what I can do. I know what I'm good at. But I think that's one of my strengths, is really knowing what my strengths are and acknowledging my weaknesses and reaching out for help on things that I know. Let me not say I know things that I'm not comfortable doing.
Right.
Looking for, some assistance, some guidance, but focusing on what I really am good at, but always keeping the door open to learn.
Yeah. Yeah, that, and we're always, we always need to be in that position of learning and experiencing and that's amazing. Besides sports business classroom experience, because that's something that's come in through the summer league. What skills are most important to develop to be successful in this career or in a career of sports that you would say to our SBC students, to the alumni, new students coming in? What are some of the skills to really power in on?
I mean, the first thing I'd say is have thick skin. Like you're nobody in this business till you've been fired at least once. It happens to everybody. If you're good at what you do, you're gonna wind up somewhere. Like it's okay.
Right.
But just having thick skin and knowing what you're good at and not being cocky about it, but being confident, being a team player, be willing to pick up the trash, be willing to do something that somebody above you asks, take a task and see how you can make it better, see how you can learn from it.
Right. Yeah, that's some good advice. I hope our students that are listening are taking notes. This is some good stuff. Let's transition a little bit. We could spend all day talking about the summer league and your experience there because you've got so much of it. Tell us a little bit about your experience as a personal assistant to professional athletes. That just from your perspective, that side of the career.
It's a lot. No 2 days are alike. You go to bed thinking your day is going to be one way when you wake up, and one phone call and everything's out the window. So I'll say, I think one of my biggest things that I try and do is control what I can control, because there's so many things that you can't.
Right.
So, before I go to bed, I try and make my checklist. And as I'm doing my checklist, is there something that I can knock off right now and just get it done?
Right.
But it's fun. It's, again, no 2 days alike. I'm not at my desk every day. I travel a lot, and it's different challenges, different experiences. You go places you probably never would go if you weren't, going for work or going with somebody. It's amazing. But it's a lot of work.
Yeah. What misconceptions would somebody have, or could somebody have, wanting to do what you do, that since they haven't had the experience, that you could share what to look out for, or just a proper perspective of, say, hey, this is what you're coming into. Here's what you need to be aware of.
It's not glamorous. First and foremost, there's no part of it that's glamorous.
Yeah.
I mean, but there are some great moments that you're somewhere and you look and you're like, wow, I'm like really here with this person. That's really a big deal to somebody else. So there are moments that are so cool and so amazing, and you're like, it's surreal sometimes.
Yeah.
But a lot of times you're behind this. If you're good at what you do, you're pretty much behind the scenes, and you're just kind of, I don't want to say a pencil pusher, but you're just taking care of all the details. So all they have to worry about is their stuff on the court or on the field, and their home life is taken care of.
Yeah. That's amazing. I had that experience last year at the Summer League, sitting next to Warren Laguerre. We had a chance to talk. We were in the Cox Auditorium, and he just said, "Hey, do you want to go meet Jerry West?" I said, "Of course." So we got to go, and he was on his way in. So we got to walk around together for a little bit, and I just followed him. Like, this was cool. Could you share with us a story about one of your most memorable moments that you've had while working with an elite athlete, or the team?
I mean, there's so many. Some of them are just the pride in looking at what the guys have accomplished. and knowing that you kind of have a hand in it, because they can't do what they do if they have a ton of stuff on their mind.
Sure.
So some of it are the individual accolades. I think, one of the coolest things is I went to Dubai with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the 90s.
Wow.
And there weren't women representing players at that time. And it was, I was doing a lot of research on it. And that was one of those moments that was just so amazing. You're like in this country that you've just heard so much about. And, in this athlete, I mean, not just any athlete, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is trusting you to kind of, pave the way and make sure he does what he needs to do and is where he needs to be. And that was probably one of my most special moments.
Yeah. That opportunity of trust or setting the stage to build trust with players, because you have a position of inside somebody's life. They're inviting you in, and that loyalty and trust is huge. Is that something you can learn, or do you think that is something that's some people have it and others just need to do something else? No.
It's pretty much. I mean, it's a lot of it is how you carry yourself, how you present yourself. Unfortunately, as a woman, we're held to different standards.
Right.
But I'm okay with that. You want to be respected. As I say, you don't have to like me, but you have to respect me and respect the job that I'm doing and why I'm doing it.
Right.
But trust it's earned. It's definitely not given.
Right.
And it takes a long time. I've been with one of my clients for 20 years. Yeah. And it takes a long time to really earn that trust and know that, okay, this person has all of my information. They control my life. Right. And it's powerful. Sure.
Influence. We come back to recognizing the power of influence and how you use it appropriately or purposefully. And what strategies do you use to effectively communicate with athletes and teams?
Just being straightforward.
Okay.
No beating around the bush. Like, hey, this is what it is. And I'm honestly kind of known for that. I'd say, I don't know, my brash approach, but I've always been known for just being very straightforward.
Yeah.
And it's served me well. As I've gotten older, I've kind of softened around the edges a little bit, but I still deliver the same message, just straightforward, because that's what people want.
Yeah. And you have a sense of purpose, but also quality, doing a job effectively and giving 100% and doing it well. And so the desire for that can come across brash.
Yes.
And as you mentioned it, and that's where, understanding the communication skills or styles. And just, I remember Magic Johnson when he came first into the league from Michigan. And, he just had fun playing basketball and he loved it. And then there was the moment that he realized, or they informed him, that this is a business.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't just that fun pickup game anymore. This was a business with millions and millions and millions of dollars at stake and people in control. And I'm sure that was kind of a life-defining moment, my opinion, for him. And he got it, but he kept the fun of the game. And he did bring that to Showtime.
Oh, yes, definitely. And he's honestly probably I worked with him, with Lon Rosen, his agent, and with Irvin for a bunch of years. And probably hands down one of my favorite people. I met him when I was 9 years old. And still to this day, love to see him. love to see what he's done, how he's, how he's approached life and just gone with it.
Yeah. Well, he changed the game of basketball coming in as 6'8" guard and doing what he could do at that position. It was amazing.
Yes. Yes. Showtime was fun.
Showtime was fun.
Showtime was fun.
I was, again, I remember the earlier Lakers, Gail Goodrich. I went to Gail Goodrich basketball camp in between 9th grade and 10th grade. It was held at Pepperdine. It was just when Gail Goodrich was traded from the Lakers to the Utah Jazz. I think he got a shoe deal for $20,000. And he was excited, and that was a big deal at the time.
In those days it was.
Yeah. That Van Arsdale brothers were both there. It was a great time. And Marni, how do you manage multiple tasks at the same time during the, because, man, that's a big part of your job. And how would you equip our SBC students to think in terms of how to do that, or how to be prepared for something like that?
Preparing is probably the key. Trying to be a step ahead, because if you're a step behind, you're always trying to catch up. So knowing that, okay, these 3 things could possibly happen. It may take a little more time to do some research on them, but then if something does happen, you're ahead of the game. A lot of times I just try and prioritize and say, okay, what's coming first? I work with 2 different guys as well as doing summer league on a full-time basis. So it's, okay, what's next? So what do I really need to focus on? And at summer league, I'm usually in the office by 7:30 at the latest in the morning, because all my other stuff doesn't stop because of summer league. So I try and, take care of everything that I can take care of, everything that I know is coming up, so that when something does come up or something else happens or I need to do something else, I'm not as stressed about, well, I had set, this 10 minutes aside to do this. It's okay. I'm as up to speed as I can be.
Right. Wow. Are we in the summer league prep mode now, or are you?
Yes. I handle my main pre-stuff right now are the team assistants. We assign each team somebody so that they can kind of help them with everything that they have going on. And a lot of times they'll be the liaison to me, like, okay, we need this, we need that. But they're with them at all their practices and help them load and unload the bus and get Gatorade and rebound and, do all that kind of stuff. So those guys fall under me, and I'm working on that right now. Yeah.
Nice. What have been some of the biggest challenges you've faced while working in the sports industry?
I mean, as cliche as it is, obviously, to be a woman.
Okay.
But I started almost 30 years ago when there were really no women in sports.
Right.
And created a name for myself with the help of great mentors like Lon Rosen, like Magic. Those guys gave me a start and let me kind of be myself and evolve and learn and let me take the reins on stuff. Which is one of those things that if you see something that you want done, if you kind of start doing it and say, hey, I am doing this and this is why I'm doing it, and this is how I'm doing it. A lot of times people may say, oh, I didn't even realize that there really was a need for that.
Right.
So Lon was great in letting me do a lot of that. And, you just kind of develop. I mean, I think one of my highlights was when I went from being Bob's daughter to him being Marni's father, showing that I was growing up and they're, developing those relationships and the rapport and earning the trust and that, I mean, that's really what it is relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll talk about some of that. Do you think because of the success that you've achieved now at this point, do you still battle the stigma of a woman in sports as an executive, or do you think you're able to now just come to the table as Marni with your experience and your influence, your abilities, and that's now less of an issue for you?
I mean, it's definitely less of an issue. I think it's always going to be an issue. I love being older because no one thinks that, you're with everyone for the wrong reasons.
Right.
You get looked at with a little more respect.
Okay.
And the years that I've put in. But no matter what, male, female, it's a hard job.
Sure.
And you have to work. You have to put the hours in. You have to put the time in. You definitely have to give it 100%.
Yeah. So for our SBC students, alumni, new prospects, women coming in, what's your tip for them?
Work-life balance.
Okay.
Create that balance. It took me, I think, until a year ago. I now put my phone on Do Not Disturb at night.
Okay.
You have to create a balance. If you don't take care of yourself, no one else is going to.
Right.
And you're not good to anyone else if you're not where you need to be. So no matter who you are, make sure you have that balance.
Yeah. So with that, since your career is taking care of the lives of some other people that are very important in their lives and in their careers, how did you carve out a niche or time for your own life?
It's something I just started doing lately. I'm a workaholic and I'm okay with that. But I'm also single, no kids, which I'm also okay with. I have an amazing dog. Okay. And it's great because he needs a lot of exercise. So I get up every morning and we walk for about an hour. And that's my time. Sometimes I listen to music. Sometimes I listen to podcasts. That's kind of my time to just get my day together, get my head right, and just kind of figure out where I'm at, where I'm going. I've also learned that if I take a vacation, it's okay to turn my phone off.
Right.
I'll check it maybe twice a day, but it doesn't need to be on all the time.
Right.
But it's also knowing that when I am working, I'm giving 110%.
Yes. Yes. You have high expectations of getting the job done.
Yes, that I a lot of times project onto people who work with me. But I also don't expect anything from anybody else that I wouldn't expect from myself.
Right. I was going to ask, are those expectations higher towards yourself?
Absolutely.
Others?
I have very high expectations of myself. I get very hard on myself if I mess something up, if something's not how somebody wants it. I'm harder on myself than they will ever be on me.
Yeah.
But then you also have to realize, okay, it happened. It wasn't what they expected. It wasn't what they wanted. Now it's, how am I going to fix it? Right. How am I going to make it right? And what am I going to do? And you can't go back and change what's done.
Right.
But it's, how are you going to move forward? Because no one's perfect.
No. They, I often share with people, every opportunity we get has an opportunity to either build credibility or lose credibility. Mm-hmm. And it's being mindful of that. That's kind of leadership and personal growth. It's being mindful of that to say, how can I make this the best situation possible? And then give it your best. And know that you did.
The kids who work in the office with me, no one really, I kind of handpick people because I know I am difficult. And I know that. But I've also learned they've given me the space to say, okay, this is what I want done. Do it.
Right.
And if it's not how I would have done it, which is usually how it's not, because, as we talked about, things evolve and,
sure.
It's working from home, working by yourself. You don't evolve as much as people do when they're in a summer league setting or in an office setting. But it's being able to say, okay, tell me how you got to that answer. Tell me how you got there. And it's me learning, and it's me also saying, okay, well, you could have done this and gotten here. It's being open to suggestion, to knowing that there's, 2 + 2 is 4, put 3 + 1 is 4 as well.
Right.
So just being able to back up what you come up with and being open to that.
Yeah. Well, it's also taking account the environment. July 7th is going to be here sooner than we think.
Mm-hmm.
And for those next 10 days, it's go time.
Yes. And some of us get there about a week before.
Right.
A week to 10 days before. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of responsibilities, a lot of things that just have to fall in place. And that's why you're in the position that you're in.
And I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. It's hard. It's, it's a struggle sometimes, but the end result, and to be able to sit back and say, look at all my hard work and from where I started, as an intern, working my way up through the ranks to summer league, to where we are at summer league, to my relationships that I have with all my counterparts in the NBA that I deal with all the time for summer league. I see them when they're in Denver. I make it a point to reach out to them, try and go grab a drink or grab a meal. It's worth it, but it's not easy.
Yeah. Is that how you stay inspired about your career in sports?
Yeah, it is. And I love it. I love, basketball season for me is my favorite. When everyone's in town, it's, you go to the games, you get to see everybody. The relationships that I've made through sports are some of my closest. And, you get amazing people everywhere, but I feel like the sports family, there's just something deeper. Yeah.
Yeah. My oldest daughter says that she loves the sound of the sneakers on the basketball court.
Same.
That's her favorite sound. So
same. I'm right there. The bounce of the ball, the sneakers. It's everything.
We do the March Madness brackets. She sends them to us every year, and
that's awesome.
So
girls and dads are great with sports.
Oh, it's fun. I used to coach high school basketball, and so they were little. I mean, I'm carrying one of them in a little baby carrier, and so they've been around it for a long time.
That's great.
Marni, what changes have you seen in the NBA and the sports industry since you've been working in it?
Technology. It's gotten more corporate. And I think one of those things that's changed, not just in the NBA, but in life, is our social media.
Yeah.
Everything's out there more. Like you find out more news on social media, on Instagram, than you do on CNN.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's definitely changed. As you were saying, like even with Irvin back in the day, it's more corporate and it is a business.
Yeah. Seeing the players coming in, and that's one thing that I've loved about being at the NBA Summer League is the program. It'll tell you if they're a rookie, or if they're 1 year, 2 year, 3 year into it, they're pursuing their dreams, and you see these players coming in. What's a a challenge for these young players coming in, keeping the perspective of what does the pursuit of this dream mean, but also, what, I guess what changes, how are they grabbing this opportunity, and what would you say to a new player coming in?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things that everyone has to realize is they may get, and I'm just throwing this out there, $1 million contract.
Right.
But the reality is it's really only $500,000 after taxes. Then you have your agent fees. But, it's not as much money as you think it is. And you have a lot of hands reaching out. And it's just kind of being smart with it to begin with, and realizing that, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned it too, with technology changing, with TikTok, the choices that people make. I was in Orlando, Florida, a couple of weeks ago, and there's a gentleman walking through the Starbucks line, and he had a Memphis Grizzlies sweatshirt on and sneakers, and I thought maybe he worked for the Grizzlies, and I stopped him as he walked by. I said, do you work for the Grizzlies? And he said, oh, no, I just a fan. And I said, oh, okay. I was going to give you my card and tell you I work with young players to keep them out of trouble. and he laughed. He knew what I was referring to. And, and that's an aspect of the players need to recognize how quickly things can change, the choices that we make. And that's leadership, and that's personal growth. What would you say to athletes in regards to that today?
It's, everyone has an opinion, and you have to go out and think kind of your season ticket holder base is, and is this something that would upset them? And I know that's hard, but if you're trying to get all these endorsements and you're, trying to do that's kind of where it's at. And the other thing is having people around you who support you, who will tell you no, who will say, I don't think that that's a good idea. Do you really want to think about this maybe before you do it? Or, if they post something and you see it immediately, like, hey, take that down. I think in the moment we get so excited to post things sometimes that we don't realize, hey, I'm posting, I'm on vacation and I live by myself and everyone knows I live by myself. And, oh, wow, my house is here. Come rob me.
You're right. Exactly.
So I think that a lot of times we don't think about the ramifications of what we're posting when we're posting them because we're so in the moment. Yeah. And I think having people around you that, I get alerts when people post. So I can go look at it and, hey, there's a misspelling here, or hey, that's probably not a good look and you should probably take it down. Right. And again, they're going to do what they want to do, but just to have that, be that voice of, I'm the conservative one. You know, I'll err on the side of caution. So.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned at the beginning, common sense.
Yes.
And
it's not as common as you think.
It's not as common as we think, and it certainly can make a big difference. So with our SBC students, alumni, and those coming into the program, looking for a career in personnel development, wanting to work with players, what would you say to them as a skill set or a tip of how to become that voice of reason for players and to really earn the opportunity to do that?
There's a few things. One is realizing that you are not them. People who try to keep up with them. If you do get your foot in the door, when you get with them, trying to be the cool one, trying to be the fun one, you can't. You have to be, you have to be the no person and be okay with that. You have to say, no, you know what? You've been drinking. You're not driving.
Right.
I'm driving. We're getting an Uber. There's lots of other ways to do things. But it's getting your foot in the door is probably the easiest through like an agent or something like that, or knowing someone from high school, from college. But again, it's one of those things that you have to earn your position.
Right.
And you have to go about it the right way. You can't, sidestep the parents and go over here, or sidestep the agent and go to the financial guy, because you know that this person's going to say yes and that person's going to say no. It's all about the player. You're part of their team. And their team is their families, their agents, their financial advisors, the team, them, their families. It's everyone has to work together and be on the same page in order for them to be able to do what they need to do. And so by you trying to, get the same bag that they have, or the same car, or do whatever, you're not showing how genuine you are about them, so to speak.
Yeah. What final thoughts would you share with us for people looking to get into the sports to really set their career path on a proper projection?
I mean, no job is too small.
Gotcha.
No job is below you. You look at Michael Jordan and his relationship with the security guard at Bull Stadium, how many years ago? Like you never know who somebody is, who they know, what they know. So be gracious to everybody. It's an amazing industry. It's also a very tight-knit industry. And it's a very loyal industry. So, it's hard to break into, but it's amazing once you're here. Starting with, and I think the best ways to find some of these opportunities are when you're in college, work with your athletic department. I have a lot of people that come to me for the team assistant position that are college basketball managers right now.
Okay.
So basically any way to open the door for yourself through agents, through even the financial side of it, working with a financial advisor, and starting somewhere, and developing a good name for yourself.
Right.
Being true to yourself, being true to the people that you work for and work with, and being honest and loyal, and being your authentic self.
Yeah. A couple final questions, and then I want to give you an opportunity to share whatever might be on your heart as well. Who is your favorite athlete of all time? Doesn't have to be a client, can be, but it doesn't have to be. And what thought leader has influenced or inspired you the most?
I touched on it. Magic's probably my favorite, just as a human, as someone who's taken adversity and grown it and made it not a stigma,
Right.
and grown his empire.
Yeah.
Said, okay, this was taken away from me, but I still have so much life in me, and I'm going to go do this, and persevering and just coming up with different things to help people and work with people, and just maintaining that positive attitude. So he's always been one of my favorites. And people that have inspired me the most. Leah Wilcox at the NBA, one of the trailblazers working with players. The Persha 10 at the Players Association. There's one of my girlfriends, Denise White, who does marketing with these guys. There's so many people Warren, Albert, just people who are so passionate about what they do and really care and do it for the right reasons. I think that's such a big thing in this industry.
Nice. Yeah. On a personal note, I know you have some nonprofits that are dear to to your heart? Which ones and why?
So, I mean, it's more so like my clients' stuff, autism. I think it is Autism Month this month, World Autism Month. And Vaughn's Vision helps people, underprivileged kids, get glasses. So it's more so, the guys that I work for, the charities that I'm closest to. So that's kind of where the focus is.
Okay.
And then also out here in Denver, there's a place called Judy's House was founded by Brian Greasy, a former Broncos player, that helps kids who have lost their parents.
Yeah. See, I'm from a generation, I know Bob. I mean, I don't know him personally.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, his son Brian and his wife started the foundation out here for kids who've lost their parents. So
wow. That's amazing. Well, best of luck to all of those. And Marni, thank you so much for this time. For me personally, it's been a pleasure and to speak with you. And I know that you have given the Sports Business Classroom audio experience just some tremendous insight into a world that you have lived. And just thank you for sharing.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
And I'm sure we'll see you in July.
See you in July.
And anything we can do for you, let us know.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, there you have it. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Sports Business Classroom audio experience with Marni Colbert, Director of Team Operations for the NBA Summer League, a personal assistant to some elite players, and a highly influential professional in her own right. 3 things that I've learned from this interview today. 1 is be prepared to work for your career in sports, to work hard. Number 2, be results-minded. In other words, think about how can I make this work? And number 3, know your lane of strengths and weaknesses and be authentically you. Well, that'll do it for this week. I'm excited to learn and to grow with you all through this audio experience over the next several weeks. So until then, see you next time.